Yo, always good YouTube. We got to react to Disturbing Revenge Stories from History by Serious History. I love this channel. Might be my second favorite channel on YouTube after the good old Bella Fury, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get into it. And I'm pretty sure this upload is like 3 days late, but I was busy, so yeah.
We're going over the most disturbing revenge stories in history. Oda Nobunaga and Sugitani Zenjubo.
Oda, that's the guy who made
It's
One Piece.
June 22nd, 1570, and a ninja is lying in the brush above a mountain pass, waiting for his target to arrive. His name is Sugitani Zenjubo, and he'd accepted a mission that few would ever dare. He was tasked with assassinating the most fearsome daimyo in all of Japan.
Oh, crap.
For over
I thought daimyos were Chinese.
100 years, Japan had been engulfed in total war. Regional warlords had carved up the islands into 68 provinces, and every man who could raise an army was convinced that he would be the one.
Yo, the quote I came up with the other day was, sometimes in order to achieve peace, you gotta be willing to go to war. That's a tough quote. Use
Would
it.
one day
Just credit me, you know, with the big full metal, you know what I'm saying?
rule the entire country. Alliances are shattered as quickly as they're made, as every ruler looks for their edge, and from amidst this chaos, a minor warlord named Oda Nobunaga had gone from a complete nobody to the most feared man Japan had ever seen.
Ooh,
See, Oda was one of the first samurai to
Oda.
equip his army with the
This
Tanegashima,
guy's related to Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece.
an early matchlock gun. The results on the battlefield were horrifying, as anyone who fought him quickly saw their samurai fall without even having drawn their swords.
That's a
Within the span of just
I love the
8
animation
years,
of this.
Oda had grown so
You can tell these aren't AI as well. The animation of the voice, the script, I doubt it as well. The script doesn't sound very robotic, so I respect all of it. No robots are used.
powerful that he's able to place a puppet shogun into power. He was now one step closer to his dream of being the one to unify Japan. But not everyone was happy with this arrangement. On
I
his
thought Shuri
campaign
would
to
become
install
king
the
of the
new shogun,
pirates.
Oda trampled into Omi, the land controlled by the Rokaku
Thought I heard something.
clan, and their leader Yoshikata found this super disrespectful. He goes to battle with Oda, but is completely destroyed. To make sure the Rokaku know who's boss, Nobunaga drives Yoshikata from his lands, leaving him with nothing. Disgraced and enraged by the humiliation, the former daimyo dedicates all of his time to coming up with a plan to kill Nobunaga and take his revenge. And cut! Great job, Yoshikata. Really captured that pissed off feeling of wanting revenge there. Thank you, narrator-san. But I do have worries that one day, my ancestors will not remember the many great things I have done. Well, luckily, with the help of today's sponsor, My Heritage with the me, evidently volunteered towards their Tatum, and on the way, got word that General Imboden's cavalry was going to attack them that night. Their unit was given the option to retreat, but every man voted to stay and fight, and they loaded up their rifles and waited for the rebels to come. At 9 p.m., a wagon approached their camp, and my great-great-great-grandfather and his fellow soldiers opened fire. But it turns out this wagon was a commissary wagon that was bringing them their food. Luckily, no one was hurt, and it wasn't a real Confederate army attack, because that allowed him to have my great-great-grandmother after the
Oh
war.
my god,
Thanks
bro.
to My Heritage,
That's not
I
even
even
normal.
got to see what he looked like, and
He's
with
in
their
the Mr.
tools,
Beast
I
that
could
way you,
color
like, make it
enhance
so
his
you actually
old
can't have to
photo,
watch the
or
ad.
even animate his face to bring him back to life.
And
With
you
over
see, that is just creepy, bro. Like, what is this?
Color enhance
This
his
is the dangers of AI. Like, what is
old
this, bro?
photo, or even animate his face to bring him back to
That is so creepy, it's insane.
life. With over 30
I'd rather have Ultron created than that be the norm. Imagine being able to resurrect your dead relatives with AI. Like, I'd rather Ultron be created than that happen.
39 billion historical records in their database, you'll probably find something in there too. So if you want to learn more about your own family's serious history, use my
Isn't that kind of crazy how Ultron is like ridiculously realistic now? Like, I think in the next 100 years, genuinely there'll be some like AI bot that someone creates, gives too much power, and it genuinely tries to do some really bad stuff. And like, I think its solution to all the things would just to be wipe out humanity, like genuinely. Like, it could be like you literally ask them a basic question like, how do we solve climate change? And like their response will be to kill all of humanity. And that's crazy. The fact that could just happen.
link in the
There
description.
needs to be some serious AI legislation put in place soon, otherwise that stuff is like really in the realm of possibility.
Or this QR code here to get a 14-day free trial to see for yourself. Sounds interesting. Almost as interesting as what you're about to do next. Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. I better get back to work on my revenge! For years,
Isn't that what that snake from Ninjago always says? Revenge, revenge.
he makes deals with
Is that
rival
one last
clans
shot?
and searches for the perfect assassin to complete his mission. He finds a master
Bullseye.
marksman named
Bullseye!
Sugitani Zenjubo, who was a crack shot. Oda being taken out by the very weapon he used to rise to power would be poetic justice, and so Sugitani is selected to be the one to take the warlord out. After years of careful planning, Yoshikata finally makes his move. En route to begin a new military campaign in Echizen, Nobunaga is betrayed and nearly killed by his allies, the Azai clan, and the warlord is forced to retreat to his stronghold in Gifu. The Azai clan, who had coordinated with Yoshikata, blocks the preferred path to Gifu and forces Nobunaga and his men to take a treacherous mountain pass. This is where Sugitani had been placed, and soon the assassin sees his target come into view. He watches as the warlord carefully makes his way through the pass, and as he gets closer, the ninja readies his rifle and patiently waits. Nobunaga unknowingly rides towards the man sent to murder him, and when he's within 20 meters, Sugitani pulls the trigger. Gunfire flashes from the brush, and a lead ball screams towards the warlord. He misses and quickly grabs his
How are you missing that? You actual failure, bro.
second prepared rifle. He fires again, and the second shot glances off Oda's armor and knocks him to the ground.
Bro,
The
just hit a headshot, ain't that hard?
warlord's men turn and see the cloud of smoke and Sugitani running for
great
his
trick
life.
shot, no scope back
Nobunaga
then. This guy
checks
can't even
himself,
hit one
and
shot.
surprisingly,
Fully
he's
standing
only
still,
suffered a
ADS.
scratch. He
Lock him,
remounts
bro.
his horse and returns home to his fortress in Gifu. As he enters his castle, he's pretty pissed off at a couple of things. Most importantly, he wants to destroy the Azai clan for their betrayal. But also, he never forgets the gunman who tried to kill him, and decides he too will one day face his final judgment. He hunts down the Azai clan, and like a dog, he forces them into battle again and
No, he's
again for
moving like
3
Lord Shenfu
years
Comfy
until
Panda
they
2.
are wiped from history. The clan leaders are forced to commit seppuku, and some sources
Is that
say
when they kill themselves? Because like they don't like surrendering, so they just kill themselves instead.
that Nobunaga collects their
Yeah.
head.
Let's make sure those seppuku. Ritual suicide, yeah, cool.
Heads and has their skulls lacquered and made into drinking cups. Around the same time, one of Nobunaga
Okay, but surely it's unpractical or impractical to drink from this. Like, there's holes everywhere. Like, the jaws as a hole, eyes as holes. So, like, how are you filling this drink from? And also, that's disgusting, by the way. Like, that was looking my second thought, how disgusting this actually is. Like, drinking from a skull. Like, and the effort, bro. Just make a cup, bro. Just make a flipping cup.
their skulls lacquered and made into drinking cups. Around the same time, one of Nobunaga's lords finally finds and captures Sugitani Zenjubo, who had been hiding in a Buddhist monastery. Sugitani is brought before Nobunaga, where he confesses that he was hired by Yoshikata and the Rokaku clan.
Oh,
Having
man.
just done the pretty impressive skull-to-cups trick with the Azai clan, Nobunaga takes some time to think of a punishment that would be equally satisfying for his would-be assassin, and he comes up with probably one of the most insane execution methods I've ever heard of.
Wait, I'm gonna predict this. It's gonna be like. Whew, wait, let me cook. It's gonna be like. Are they gonna feed them to some type of animal? I think they're gonna feed them to some type of animal.
Sugitani is led out to the main road, and he watches as Nobunaga's men dig a large hole. They place him into
drop
the hole
snakes in
and
there.
bury him up to his neck. The
Oh.
ground is packed down around
I
him.
this is referenced in like in Naruto. I was rewatching some OG Naruto before, and like Sasuke right at the start of the show, I'm not gonna, I can't be asked, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, let me just drop my chair a bit. Like he gets like trapped by Kakashi, and his head's just like this. So Sakura comes up to him, he's like, he thinks he's dead, and he's been killed like this. I'm assuming. Wow, that's a reference, or it's a reference to Naruto, isn't it? No, Naruto's obviously referencing this. It's Japanese. It's probably like big in Japan as well, so makes sense.
So he's unable to escape. He turns his head and sees Nobunaga's men place a blunt bamboo saw next to him. And finally, they drive a sign into the ground that invited anyone walking past to pick up the saw and cut into this man's neck. Over the next 3 days, Sugitani's head was slowly sawed off by hundreds of people, each taking their turn as they walked into town. Oh, and just for fun,
But who wants to do this? I guess back in the day, bro, I feel like we're all just a bit bloodthirsty, you know what I'm saying?
9 years later, Nobunaga's son eventually finds Yoshikata's son hiding in a Buddhist temple. This was the child of the guy who had hired Sugitani to assassinate his dad and had no direct involvement in the event. But Nobunaga's kid still decided to set the entire temple on fire, killing all 150 people inside. I guess that kind of stuff ran in the family. The Tiger and Vladimir
The
Markov.
Tiger and Vladimir Markov. So this is Russian, obviously.
Okay, we've done some pretty crazy revenge stories on this channel,
Yeah.
but this one might be one of the most unbelievable cases we've ever
All
covered.
right, I'll be the judge of
It's
that
a
one.
cold December evening in
Bro, that's so
1997,
horrible.
and Vladimir Markov is walking home to his cabin hungry again. The fall of the Soviet Union had been hard for him as he found himself out of work, and like many others in the far eastern outskirts of Siberia, he had now turned to illegal poaching to survive. Today's hunt was unsuccessful, and this was
Soviet Union was a cook's place back in the day.
not good news. He hadn't eaten a real meal in a few days and was starving. But as he trudges through the snow, he sees something up ahead that catches his eye. His hunting dogs run ahead and start barking when they find a freshly killed boar. Markov runs up and is shocked by the state it's in. It is completely ravaged with broken bones protruding from its body and blood seeping from deep wounds. Nearby, in the freshly fallen snow, Markov spots huge paw prints that are nearly the size of his hand. He knows that this was probably the work of a Siberian tiger, and a very large one at that. He looks around, but there's no sign of the beast. He looks down at the boar carcass, and with his stomach growling, he decides to quarter its hind legs. He can't turn away from a good meal.
Of course not. Like, that's boar. It's literally pork. That's normal to eat. It's not like eating rats or something, which other people in the Soviet Union were doing at the time, by the way. Can't remember what country it was. Might have been like some country got like really bad famine because of it. Like, I might have just been Russia itself, but it was something. It was just like a huge famine thing where like they started like doing cannibalism and started eating rats and stuff because like their food supply was just so low or something. I think it might have been Ukraine. I don't know, somewhere though.
And he can trade the rest of the
And it was
meat
literally all of Stalin's fault.
for essentials at the nearby
So if you're getting some actual fucking proper meat, then I'm taking that instantly, you know what I'm saying?
logging camp. He slings the boar meat over his shoulder and resumes the trek home. But there's a saying in the area: a tiger will see you 100 times before you see him once. And Markov had just unknowingly sealed his fate. Later that night in his cabin, Markov is cooking a piece of the boar for dinner.
Okay.
The wind is howling outside, and he assumes that's what's knocking over some of the equipment. But the noises become louder and more peculiar. His beehives come crashing down, and his steel pots and pans begin loudly dropping to the ground. His dogs begin barking, and as he listens carefully, he can hear someone or something outside. Markov grabs his gun as the noises outside grow louder and louder. It's now obvious
my
that
gun as well.
whatever's outside is huge,
Chill.
and it's slowly circling the poacher's cabin.
Oh my god, this is so
Markov
horrible.
stares out a tiny hole he had cut to shoot deer that wandered near his home, and as he's straining to see out into the darkness, a giant yellow eye appears right in front of him. Markov thrusts the barrel of his gun
come
through
on,
the
bruh.
hole and fires at
Bang.
the beast. The tiger lets out a blood-curdling roar and
Load up another
crashes
one.
into the brush. Markov had found what had killed the boar he'd taken, or more accurately, it had found him. Vladimir spends the next day in his cabin, too afraid to leave, but he eventually runs out of food and is forced to leave his shelter. He opens the door carefully, and with the coast appearing to be clear, he rushes to a
It
friend's
wasn't
house
clear,
a few
bro.
miles
That
away.
tiger's hiding and
When he gets
stalking
there,
him like a
he
predator,
barges
bro.
into the house and begins smoking a cigarette to calm his nerves. He tells his friend what had happened the other night, and upon hearing the story, Markov's friend tells him that it sounds like this tiger is out for his head, and to leave, so it doesn't show up here. Markov visits another friend and tells him the story of the tiger and asks him to help him go out and kill it. But this friend refuses and instead offers Markov a place to stay for the night. The poacher declines the offer and tries the nearby logging camp, but the men there also refuse. With no help,
Everyone's fucking
Markov
pussies,
slowly
low-key.
begins his walk home in the darkness of night.
Bro,
He
side
arrived-
note, it is so hot right now. Fucking hell. Like, it's not even like, it doesn't feel 30 degrees hot, bro. It just feels so humid. I'm turning on the fan.
He's back at the cabin and sees that it had been ravaged. His outhouse was destroyed, and his shed storing the boar leg was ripped open. He raises his shotgun and slowly walks towards his front door. As he draws closer, he finally sees what had caused all the destruction. Waiting for him was a giant male
That
Siberian
is
tiger.
so tough, it's
The
insane.
beast sees Markov
Hold on,
and begins
bro.
rushing towards him. The poacher raises his gun and fires, hitting the beast in the front
Bang.
leg. Markov fumbles to load another shell, but before he can do that, the 500-pound tiger pounces on him. The poacher's screams echo in the woods, but no one is near enough to hear him. The following day, Markov's friend arrives at his cabin for their
Oh,
pre-planned fishing trip.
fuck.
As he approaches the hut, he notices blood on the ground and assumes that Markov did not do a good job cleaning up after his latest kill. But then he notices a hat in the snow
Aw,
and sees a
damn.
trail of blood leading into the woods. He
Damn.
follows the trail and finds pieces of his friend's clothing and then a dismembered dog paw. Suddenly,
Damn.
he hears a sound up ahead, a low growl, and he runs back to Markov's cabin. He travels down to the logging camp to call the authorities, who arrive the following day. A team from Inspection Tiger, led by a man named Trush, arrives and finds what
Trush.
appears to be a pile of laundry, until closer inspection. This pile was the remains of Markov. His boots were found with bones protruding from them. Nearby, his frozen, headless body was found eviscerated with one of his
Fucking hell.
arms
This
missing.
tiger, bro.
And a few steps
This
away,
tiger's just
they
like,
find the
ugh.
remains of Markov's head, whose face had been eaten clean off. Trush and his team inspect Markov's cabin and find everything that would have had Markov's scent on it torn to pieces. The boar leg that was hanging outside was also missing. Trush finds a patch of melted snow and droppings near the cabin and concludes that the tiger had returned and waited for Markov for 2 days. Trush is shocked by the findings. He knows that tigers can be dangerous, but most often will only attack in self-defense. This one, however, seemed to ignore all the other humans in the area and was particularly interested in only killing Markov.
It's because
In
Markov
the
stole his
following
food,
days,
bro.
the
Markov stole his food, so he really wanted his get back, bro. It's just a bit of food, Tiger. You can get some more. That's actually
tiger
fucked.
stalks another man to his home and kills and eats
What?
him in a similarly
Bro,
brutal
that's one
fashion.
tiger.
Trush and
It's
his
like
team
Shere
are sent
Khan
out
or
to
some
take the
shit.
animal down. They eventually find the tiger, and when it's cornered, it attacks and nearly kills Trush before his men shoot it dead. Upon inspection of the tiger's body, they find that its front leg had been severely injured by Markov's shot and had become infected. This injury probably prevented it from hunting its normal prey, forcing it to kill its second victim. But even with that discovery, the evidence at Markov's cabin was overwhelmingly clear, and Trush's official report stated that the tiger had hunted and killed Markov for revenge for stealing his meal.
Bro.
Charles II and Oliver Cromwell.
Oliver
It's September
Cromwell?
6th, 1651, and the 21-year-old Charles II is hiding in the branches of an
I know
oak
Oliver
tree in the
Cromwell.
English countryside.
Didn't he make
stares
Coram
through the
Boy?
leaves as parliamentary soldiers search the area for him. He knows that they're all hoping to be the man who captures the former Crown Prince of England. 3 days ago, in an attempt to retake his father's throne, Charles had led a group of loyalists and allied Scottish soldiers into battle at Worcester. The Parliament's new model army, led by a 42-year-old former farmer named Oliver Cromwell, vastly outnumbered them, and in the span of just 10 hours, 3,000 of his men were killed and another 10,000 were captured. As he desperately clings to a branch, he can't help but think that this was not how his life was supposed to turn out, and it was all Cromwell's fault. See, 10 years earlier, his father, Charles I, the King of England, had stormed into Parliament looking to arrest 5 of its members. By this time, Protestantism had swept through the kingdom, and with
my
it,
God, I looked
the
at his
idea
face
that the
for a
king had the
second. I'm not
divine
joking.
right to rule had been
Because I'm just
shattered
thinking
amongst the
myself, sorry.
increasingly Protestant Parliament. The MPs had limited the king's power, taking away his rights
The
to tax
MPs, the
people
ministers
without
of
their
Parliament.
permission, and the right to arrest anyone he wanted to. What good is being a king if you can't do whatever you want? After years of denying his request to increase taxes, Charles I had had enough and was looking to remind everyone who the real king was. But the men he was looking for that day were all tipped off and were not there. And instead of solving the problem, this act of storming into Parliament kicks off the English Civil War.
Damn.
Without nobles with military experience, Parliament promotes its members to leadership positions in their army, and one of them, an MP from Cambridgeshire named Oliver Cromwell, turns out to be an absolute military genius. Driven by a fanatical Puritan faith and convinced he is an instrument of God's will on earth, Cromwell builds a cavalry regiment that tears through the royalist army. By 1646, King Charles I was defeated and ended up a political prisoner of the Scots. While in captivity, Charles secretly makes a deal with the Scots and convinces them to attack England and help him regain his throne. This attempt is again crushed by Cromwell, who then warns Parliament that the king cannot be trusted and that he must be dealt with once and for all. And so, on January 30th, 1649, Charles I is led outside the banqueting house in London and publicly beheaded in front of a crowd.
What?
Charles II got news of his father's execution, and with his future hanging by a thread, he had scrambled to build an army to reclaim his throne. But his defeat at Worcester at the hands of Cromwell was decisive and had ended all hopes of continuing his family's royal legacy. Night falls, and Charles II watches as the last of the soldiers leave the area. He climbs down and, under the cover of night, makes a break for it. The former crown prince has a bounty placed on his head, and he's hunted across England for 6 weeks. He cuts his hair and dirties his face to hide amongst the commoners until finally
Yeah,
he manages
Coram
to
boy.
escape to France with just a few of his most loyal men. For the next 9 years, he lives on the run in France and Belgium as Cromwell and the Parliament try to extradite him back to England. He's broke, and his few men who remain loyal often go without food or pay. During his exile, Charles gets updates on the state of his homeland. Cromwell was installed as Lord Protector, a position initially designed to function like a modern-day prime minister of a representative government. But things don't turn out like everyone hoped. Cromwell soon becomes a tyrant and leads a genocidal campaign in Ireland
thought
that
Cor-
causes
I
mass
thought
famine and
Cromwell
wipes out somewhere
wrote
between
Coram
20
boy.
to 40% of the Irish
Wait.
population.
You wrote Coram boy. Am I tapped? Coram. I read this book in like year 9. I didn't read it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know what happens. It's just some kid working in a workhouse or something. Oh, Jamila Gavin. Oh, I'm clearly wrong. Let's just continue watching.
He goes on to silence the Levelers, a group of MPs who were pushing for equal rights and freedoms for all free men, by killing everyone who opposed him in a churchyard. And soon he does.
I guess, like, I'll go to go vote myself. Oh, because I'm not editing this video, bro. I'm too lazy. Like, why do you just love doing this sometimes, you know? Makes this very long for me.
Dissolves Parliament, making himself the supreme ruler of the land, just like Charles had done. He
Why does his
institutes
head
a
like
form
that,
of
by the way?
martial law throughout the Commonwealth,
Martial
and he
law,
even
moving
cancels
like Wilson
Christmas.
D'Onofrio's Kingpin. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk's Kingpin.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry
Is this
Christmas!
another ad?
In every way except the title which he politely refused, Cromwell had become King of England, and he rules as Lord Protector until his death in 1658. His son Richard is made his successor.
Wait, no, Cromwell's the
but
guy who...
Richard Cromwell wasn't
Cromwell's
like
the
his
guy who
father.
let the Jews come back to England, I remember.
He was a
Because they were kicked out under, like, I think it was William the Conqueror, because he brought them in, but then the people didn't like them, so he kicked them out, and I'm pretty sure he let them back in. There we go. That's
simpler
what
man
Cromwell
who
did.
loved hunting and being outdoors. He had no desire to deal with all the BS it takes to run a country, and so he's forced to resign as Lord Protector within a year, and England falls into chaos. The experimental
I'm so sorry you're hearing fucking car honking. I don't know why you're hearing car honking.
Republic had failed, and so in May 1660, Parliament essentially admits it messed up and invites Charles II home to reclaim the throne. On May 29, 1660, his 30th birthday, the former
Aw.
Crown Prince rides into London and the city erupts into celebration.
Is that supposed to be a, like, is that supposed to be pants? Like, panties?
Bells ring from every church tower, and crowds pack the streets to welcome home their king. Charles II is crowned, and he turns out to be everything England needs. He's charming and genuinely loved by the people in a way his father
Aw.
never was. He makes England fun again, bringing back the arts and theater, and he even uncancels Christmas. He
Aw.
gains the nickname the Merry Monarch, and in a gracious act, he issues a sweeping general pardon for nearly everyone involved in the English Civil Wars.
Aw.
But the key word here is nearly everyone. See, there was a small handful of people that Charles could simply not forgive. The men who had sentenced his father to death and ruined his life for a decade. And there was one man he hated more than all the rest. The former Lord Protector, Oliver Cromwell. But there was just one problem.
What?
By this time, Cromwell had been dead for years.
Yeah,
He passed away
so I was
peacefully
thinking.
and got away with everything scot-free. This was something Charles could simply not accept. He would have no peace until Cromwell had faced justice. And so, on January 30th, 1661, the 12th anniversary of his father's execution, Charles II has the body of Oliver Cromwell exhumed from Westminster Abbey. The dried-up corpse of the former Lord Protector, along with
What
two
we
of his
doing here?
co-conspirators, who by the way had also died a long time ago and
it's a
were
bit weird.
also corpses, were brought to Tyburn and hanged in public. Throughout the day,
What? So we're hanging a dead body? That is a wonderful idea. Like, that really gets the job done. Like, are these people fucking stupid, bro? Like, what do you mean? I got the dead body from Westminster and I hung it, even though he was already dead. Like, what?
Members from across London traveled
I
to
feel
see
like the
the
kings
dead
back
body
in the day
of
were just
Cromwell
bored.
hanging,
I feel like
finally
kings back in the day were
receiving
actually
his
just bored,
punishment.
bro.
As evening drew near, the executioner lowered the bodies and sloppily chopped off their heads. Cromwell's head is then shoved onto a 20-foot pole and carried through town to Westminster Hall, where it's mounted above its entrance as a
Wallahi, we're
warning
just
to
doing too
all of
much.
what will happen to anyone who kills their king. Now, that is some pretty extreme revenge as it is, but what happens after that to Oliver Cromwell's head is probably one of the weirdest stories in history. See, when Charles II dies and his brother James II takes over as king, Cromwell's head is still chilling up there 24 years later. But one night, a big storm snaps the spike, and the head falls off the roof and lands in the street. A security guard finds it rolling around, and for some reason, he takes it home. When officials realize Cromwell's head is missing, notices are put out for its
This feels like a comedy now. Like, what is actually going on? Like if this is a revenge story, this is like a fucking comedy. It's like a satire or some shit. Because this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, why are we getting the dead body of Oliver Cromwell? We're like, you know what's a great idea? To make it so he gets the justice he's supposed to get, we're gonna hang him. Is it that's gonna do anything? I even understand to some extent, like, getting his head and putting up on a stick. But it's years after he's already died, bro. And then suddenly the head falls off, and now some guy stole it, and now the head is wanted. Like, what are we doing there, bro?
But not wanting to incriminate himself as the person who stole it, the guard never returns it. The head goes missing for decades, until one day it shows up in a museum of oddities in the early 1700s, where it's displayed as Oliver Cromwell's head. Most people think it's a fake, and it stays there until the owner of the museum dies. The head is lost again for a few years, but emerges once more in the late 1700s. Now the property of a failed comedian named Samuel Russell, he brings it out at drinking parties, and he and his drunk friends throw it around like a football.
What is
Cromwell's head
going
was
on?
then purchased by an investor and flipped for a much higher price to two entrepreneurs who set up a new exhibit that fails miserably. The head is then sold again to a man named Josiah Henry Wilkinson, who keeps it in his private collection and passes it down as a family heirloom for hundreds of years. Eventually, in the 1930s, the Wilkinson family brings the head in for scientific testing, and the now very damaged and shriveled up head on a stick is officially confirmed to indeed be the actual head of Oliver Cromwell, the former Lord Protector.
Okay, but what are they testing? It's like the fucking 17th century. Like, they don't have any fucking forensic stuff. Like, how do they verify this is Oliver Cromwell's head, bro?
Of England.
I'm
Finally.
assuming it is, but like,
After
this feels like a comedy skit.
generations in the Wilkinson collection, Horace Wilkinson decides to return Cromwell's head to be laid to rest. And so in 1960, the head of the
96, we finally just like let it go back in the grounds. Like, we took out like the 1600s. We're like, you know what's a great idea? Let's hang this guy and let's decapitate him. And let's make anyone free to decapitate him. Let's then hang him up on a stick and take him around town. Oh no, we put it up and it fell off and someone took the head. And over 200 fucking years, the head is lost. And we finally like, yeah, it's Oliver Cromwell's head. Let's just put it back in the ground now. Like, say wallahi, bro. Anyway, W video from Serious History as per usual. Like and subscribe and all that. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.